Welcome back to the channel. We're back with another Avatar Commander deck profile to Toph, Earthbending Master. For 3 and a green, you get 2/4 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get an experience counter. And whenever you attack, not necessarily with Toph, just with any creature, Earthbend X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. So we're trying to have a whole bunch of lands enter the battlefield in order to get a bunch of experience counters to really get a big creature with Toph's ability. Ways to make sure we're sacrificing lands in order to make sure those earthbending lands get sacrificed. They just come back, getting us another experience counter, getting us a Toph's ability just an additional time. Some extra ways to benefit off some +1/+1 counters, some ways to benefit off having lands in the graveyard and just landfall abilities in general with this deck. But that's just a general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. Starting us off, we have a Conduit of Worlds. Like I said, we're going to be trying to sacrifice our lands, so being able to play them from our graveyard is going to be helpful, or playing our non-land permanents from our graveyard as well, as long as we don't cast anything else that turn. Crucible of Worlds, another way to play our lands from our graveyard, because, like I said, we're sacrificing them. They'll come back if they were an earthbending land, but they won't come back if they weren't an earthbending land. Soul Ring for some additional mana. Earth Crystal, one or more +1/+1 counters put on a creature you control, twice that many are put on a creature instead. We like to see it, especially if Top's getting like 20 +1/+1 counters on something. 40 is even better. The Ozolith, this way when we're getting those +1/+1 counters on our creatures, they don't necessarily have to go away. This way we could sacrifice that earthbending land, get those counters onto the Ozolith, and then put them onto like maybe like Toph or something and swing in for that commander damage. Zern Orb as a good way to sacrifice our lands, making sure that we could have those earthbending lands come back again and again. And then for our creatures, we have Ancient Green Warden. We have landfall abilities happening quite a bit with this deck, so we're going to have them happen just once. May as well have them happen twice. And also just another good way to play lands from our graveyard. Ancient Green Warden, probably one of the best like landfall creatures, I'd say. Well, like non-legendary creatures at least. Avengers Zendikar will be having a lot of lands on the battlefield. Whenever a creature enters, get a 0/1. Whenever this creature enters, get a 0/1 plant token for each land you control. They keep getting stronger and stronger for each time we have a land enter. Zusa, Lost But Seeking. Another way to play some additional lands each turn. We're playing lands left and right, right and left with this deck. Getting many more experience counters, and many more +1/+1 counters on Avengers Zendikar's plant tokens. Madrimal, whenever a creature you control +1/+1 counters on them have trample. Also allows us to Earthbend 2, another good way to sacrifice our lands. And just a way to make sure our creatures with +1/+1 counters on them can actually attack, rather than just getting blocked by 1/1s. Madrimal Cub enters Earthbend 1, making our land into a creature with 1/1 counter on it. And whenever you tap a creature for mana, potentially that forest, you get an additional green mana. Glad to see it. Bristly Bill's Spine Sower gets some additional +1/+1 counters onto all of our land creatures, or potentially onto Toph herself, and then pay 5 and keep on doubling, and then double it again, and then double it again. Earthbending Student enters Earthbend 2, getting our lands into creatures, also giving those lands vigilance, making so that we could, attack without having to worry about being guard sound for our next turn. Evolution Sage, whenever land enters battlefield, proliferating those +1/+1 counters. We're getting on our creatures with Toph, and also all other ones we had Earthbending on. Ice Explorer, another way to play our lands from our graveyard, and whenever you play a land from your graveyard, you get to play an additional one. And you also mill some cards, which allows us to get some more lands into our graveyard, which allows us to play more lands. Where were we? Sorry, moved my mouse. I missed where I was. Go down by the west tree, and I always get that much more ramp when our modified creatures deal combat damage, which they're going to deal combat damage because they all have trample now. Loot Exuberant Explorer, another way to play some additional lands, or paying 6 mana to get something out of our top 6 cards. Lowe's Cobra for some additional mana. We need the mana, we like the mana. Lumra, Belle of the Woods, this way just in case you did sacrifice all of your lands in order to do something stupid like earlier in the game, you use the remaining 6 mana that you got in order to get Lumra and get them all back. Mighty Form Harmonizer, when a land you control enters, double power target creature you control, potentially Toph, especially if you got a lot of +1/+1 counters on her some way, or potentially just a creature you got like all those +1/+1 counters on with Toph. Mossbarn Hydra, especially before we make Mossbarn Hydra into a land. Actually, wait, did I put that card in here? Actually, I don't think I did. Okay, there's a card that makes like all creatures into lands. Yep, Ashaya is a card I'm thinking of. You could put that in here, make all of your creatures into lands, and you can put those +1/+1 counters on them instead of your normal lands. And then they also come back. Like, I should have put Ashaya on here. I don't know why I forgot. Oracle of Meldiah. Play an additional land each turn. Play some additional lands from top of your library. Ramanov Excavator, another way to make sure we're playing our lands from our graveyard. Roaming Drone, I might take this out. Yeah, I think you take out Roaming Drone, add Ashaya. We'll just add that now. I forgot which, yeah, that's Soul to Win, right? Yeah, Soul to Win. Sorry, Soul to Wild. No, Soul to Win. But yeah, no need for that. But yeah, just having everything be a land helps them come back anytime they get removed, especially if there's that Earthbending ability on them. Scoot Swarm, in order to get a whole bunch of Scoot Swarms, rule 782, there are always more Scoot Bugs. Seedworm Muse, in order to make sure we're untapping all of our creatures, making sure we could have guards up, have more mana, have ways to just play during our opponent's turn. Spring Bloom Druid, sacrifice our Earthbending land, get 2 additional lands, and then that land comes back because of the way Earthbending works. Sylvan Safekeeper, sacrifice the land, target creature control gains Shroud. Potentially, if our opponent's like, oh, I'm going to board wipe you, you just sacrifice them all. They come back with add +1/+1 counters, and you gave Shroud to something while you're at it. Tifa, Lockhart, or to, finish off the game normally, because, Tifa's going to be strong enough to do that. Toph to Blind Bandit, Toph enters Earthbend 2, getting another Earthbending land. Power equal to number +1/+1 counters on lands you control. Especially with a Shia now in here, and having like something with like what was it? Where'd it go? Mossborn Hydra. There it is. Especially having that like as land now. That's gonna be a really powerful Toph. Traveling Chocobo, in order to play some additional lands, play some additional birds, and double up those abilities. Roaring Flex, Monstrous Raider. If one or more counters are put on a permanent or player, aka those experience counters on us, or those counters on our lands, double it up instead, and half that money for our opponents instead, because they don't need them. On to the second half of the deck. For our enchantments, we have Branching Evolution, or double up those +1/+1 counters. Doubling Season, double it up again. Exploration, or play additional land each turn. This way we get more experience counters with Toph. Greater Good, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its power, discarding 3. Even if you sacrifice your land with all its +1/+1 counters on it from Toph, that's a lot more cards you're drawing than you are discarding. Innkeeper's Talent, in order to double up the number of +1/+1 counters. Instead, Loading Zone, loud doubling up. What we got here. You like the ability? Let's see the ability. This one has warp, so you can do it from 1 mana, just if you have that one really big turn you're going for. Spelunking, to make sure that when we have all these lands entering, they don't enter tapped. Sphere Grid, in order to give our creatures reach and trample, making sure they can't just be blocked by 1/1s. Sylvan Library, in order to make sure we're getting the cards we want off the top of our deck, rather than having to, deal with just like cards we don't. Terra Symbiosis, in order to draw a card every time a +1/+1 counter is put on a creature for the first time each turn. Every time the first time. But yeah, if we get a whole bunch of creatures, a whole bunch of counters with Toph's ability, that's a lot of cards we're drawing. Constant Miss, buyback, sacrifice the land, potentially that land that we had the Earthbending on, and that allows us to that allows us a fog, essentially. Crop rotation, in order to sacrifice our land, get initial land, and then get our Earthbending land right back. Cycle of Renewal, same thing, just 2 lands. And the only thing is, crop rotation allows you to get your really good lands. Other cards just get you like your basics. This one gets you 3 if you have a really strong creature, which we're going to tend to do. Harrow, in order to do the same thing. Your Convention for protection when you want the protection. Inspiring Call, same thing, protection, but a lot of draw power. Momentous Fall, draw cards equal to sacrifice creature's power, gain life equal to its toughness. If we have a creature that we were doubling up, all those +1/+1 counters on with Toph, that's potentially a lot of life and a lot of card draw, and we're going to deck ourselves out. Just be careful. Return to the Wild Speaker, drawing a bunch of cards, or getting some stat boosts. Rolling Regrowth to sacrifice the land, draw some cards. For our lands, we have both Sage You for some removal, Broker's Hideout, Cabaret Courtyard, lands that like sacrifice themselves, get more lands. Escape Tunnel, sacrifice, get more. Avendo, basically for Gaia's Cradle. Because even though like I am running like just this deck, like showing you like what we could run, I don't like running Gaia's Cradle. Too expensive. Following Wilds, Fatal Passage, sacrifice lands, get more lands. Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead or another land enters battlefield under your control. Get some zombies. You can have 7 lands with different names. You only have 10 forests in here. It's like not that common to run card lands with the same name. Glacial Chasm, sacrifice land, cannot attack. All damage dealt to use reduced by 0. We don't mind about sacrificing those lands. Lotus Field, sacrifice some lands, get more lands. Maze of It for some good protection. Misty Rainforest, get your forests. Mirrored Landscape, Prismatic Visa, sacrifice lands, get more lands. Reliquary Tower, River Tears and Outlook, sacrifice some lands. Strip Mine, sacrifice it, destroy your opponent's lands. And like, you just get yours back because it was a Earthbending land. Metamorphic Expands, a bunch of sacrifice lands, the rest for them, I'm pretty sure. Waking the Woods in order to get you a bunch of forest, dryad, land, creature tokens. They're all lands. That's all landfall abilities you're getting. Cultivate for some ramp. Explore for some ramp. Kodamas Reach for some ramp. Nature's Lore for some ramp. Overwhelming Stampede to make everything just as strong as the strongest creature. Put all its +1/+1 counters on with Toph's ability and give them trample. Rich Car's Expertise for a lot of draw power and a free spell. Escape Shift. Sacrifice all of our Earthbending lands. Get that many more lands. Splendid Reclamation, or we return all of our lands. 3 visits for even more lands, and Traverse Outlands for all of those lands. In all honesty, you probably should run more forests in here than I currently do. Like, get rid of, like, I don't know, some things. Even, like, what's it called? Yeah. Forgot we have Maya's Cradle in here, too. But yeah, I'd say, like, one thing I'd fix up about this deck will probably be adding more forests rather than, like, some of the other lands. Well, actually, let's just do it while we're on the video here. I'd say you need at least 18 forests. And like in response, you could just get rid of like an Evolving Wilds. Let's get rid of a Vendo, Escape Tunnel. Oh no, you have my was here. Wasteland to get rid of. So we don't necessarily want to run. How many lands are we at? Oops. 39, 3 more? Right? Around 103, yep, 103 cards. Honestly, like, you don't necessarily have to get rid of, like, more lands at this point. Get rid of, like, maybe get rid of, like, I don't know what you get rid of. I guess you don't need this many, like, ramp cards. Get rid of Kodamas Reach, get rid of Cultivate, get rid of, I don't know, maybe, I'd get rid of Evolution Sage over on the other side of that. But that's the deck there. If you guys liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe so you can stay tuned for more. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.